God is good as always. Calyx Boxing here. Pull up a seat, get some lunch, get some dinner, drink something, and let's talk some Chocolatito versus Julio Cesar Martinez. Man, this is what I'm here for. This is what boxing is about. Matchups like this. And when I first saw this announced after Gallo Estrada pulled out of the trilogy fight due to illness, I was like, man, Chocolatito is a man's man. To follow up Estrada pulling out of the fight with Julio Cesar Martinez, arguably a tougher matchup for him, arguably. This is why Chocolatito is a special, generational, first ballot Hall of Famer, all-time great fighter. He's showing it once again just by taking this matchup after Estrada pulled out of the trilogy. And if you want to see a great breakdown of this fight on YouTube, and fights like this, I go on YouTube and I look at all the breakdowns because I'm excited about a fight like this, is Surgical Boxing. Shout out to him. He did a great breakdown of this fight and what to look for, and accompanied with great video as well. So go check him out and check out that video, and I'll be talking about the more tactical stuff about this fight in the latter part of this video. But first, let me set the table. Chocolatito is a guy, after the Soaring Vise loss, the knockout loss in the second fight, he arguably won the first fight, has gone, in my opinion, 5-0, undefeated since then. I had him beating Gallo Estrada last year on my card anyway, and in doing so, according to CompuBox, has averaged 93 punches thrown per round since doing so. And he's done it against tough competition. So the narrative out there is that Chocolatito is aging, that he's well past his prime, yet those stats do not fit that narrative. And that's what makes this interesting. And what makes this interesting as well, there's always the wild card that a guy who's 34 years old in the lower weight classes, the lower weight classes are not designed for aging fighters. They're just not. Higher output, you're fighting tough competition after tough competition, being that you're forced to fight more legacy fights in the lower weight classes. You're forced to fight tougher fights because of monetarily having big paydays against average opposition is not there for you like it is for upper weight class fighters who are spoiled, in my opinion, modern day upper weight class fighters. The lower weight class fighters are not, and they're fighting more legacy fights. So it's amazing to me what Chocolatito is achieving, but you do have the wild card that he will at some point get old overnight, like Pacquiao did against Ugas at 34 years old, 50 some odd fights in. The question is, will this be the fight? And if you look at the stats, the narrative, the stats don't fit the narrative that he is getting old as fast and as rapidly as the boxing public is saying. And Vegas doesn't think so either, because they have him a slight favorite against Martinez in this fight. But really amazing what Chocolatito is achieving. If you're not paying attention to the lower weight classes, I mean, you're missing out. You're missing out on a great run in that 115-pound division. My God, what a snake pit that is. But as far as the tactical part of this fight, Julio Cesar Martinez was really robbed of a victory against McWilliams Arroyo in his last fight, because we all saw where that was headed. Ended up being a no contest. He was beating up McWilliams Arroyo after he was knocked down in the first round, popped right back up, knocked him down in the first round, and Arroyo never recovered and acted like he couldn't see after that because of a headbutt, and it went to a no contest. But Martinez is a guy, he's a tough cookie, man. He is a tough hombre. He's a guy who's going to bring it, power in both hands. As Surgical Boxing broke down in his video, he's a guy who works behind the high guard, comes in with a jab, a good jab, which could lead to his detriment, the high guard. And I'll get into that in a minute. But a guy with power in both hands and not afraid to lead with power as well. So he'll lead with the jab, but he'll also lead, as he showed against Arroyo, with the left hook. And he can throw it strong. I mean, he's a strong fighter. He's got a good chin. He's a durable fighter. And he's the type of guy that has a style that could give Chocolatito some problems because of that. If he catches Chocolatito with a lot of shots, he could wear him down as the fight goes on. He's that type of guy who's going to stick around. However, stylistically, the reason I like Chocolatito in this fight ultimately is the high guard. Chocolatito fights well against the high guard, and the reason he does is because he's a high output fighter. What makes Martinez different than other high guard fighters such as Winky Wright, Arthur Abraham, guys who like to work behind that high guard peekaboo style and walk you down fighting off the front foot, is he does counter. Other high guard fighters do not do that because they can't naturally mix their offense with defense because they are in that high guard. So they wait for you to get your shots off, wear you down, walk you down, and then when you're done getting your shots off, then they're going to go on offense. What makes Martinez different is he'll counter as well. So he'll catch and shoot. The problem with that for Martinez is when he does catch and shoot, when he does counter, he becomes a pattern fighter. So it's easier to time him. And he throws power shots so he leaves his chin up in the air. I think Chocolatito is going to take advantage of all of that. He's going to be able to time him. And Chocolatito is a natural counter puncher as well. He can do many things. He can counter punch as well, but he's not as easy to time. He mixes things up, and he'll start his offense off the counter as well. He'll throw 5-6 punch combinations off of his catching and shooting. Now, the peekaboo style, the high guard Martinez fights, Chocolatito does well off of it because he'll throw shots on the outside of that, loosen up the high guard, and then throw uppercuts in the middle once that high guard loosens up. Those high guard guys naturally put their head down as they come forward, and they're naturally susceptible to uppercuts. And we know Chocolatito does well with the uppercuts, man. That guy can throw uppercuts up the middle. He'll fight off the back foot. He'll catch his angles, and he'll loosen up that high guard and light it up. And that's what he'll do against Martinez. The thing is, Martinez is a durable fighter, so this is going to turn into a shootout. This is going to turn into a fight of the year type candidate. And it's hard to say how it's going to play out late in the fight. Will Martinez catch Chocolatito with so many shots that Chocolatito starts to wear down? I don't think so. I think Chocolatito is going to somehow figure out a way to win this fight with his experience, with his more diverse tool chest. He's got a lot more tools in his chest than Martinez does. I think he'll figure this out, man, and he'll win this fight, whether on late stoppage or by decision, and get that Estrada trilogy hopefully later this year and continue to add to his great legacy. I don't think this is the fight where he turns old overnight. And I understand this is upset season. I get that. There's been upset after upset after upset. Chocolatito is a slight favorite, but I think he's going to figure his way out of this, find his way out of this. And in a way, it's going to become sort of like Marquez versus Juan Diaz 1. Now, Martinez has a lot more power than Diaz. But what I'm saying is, and what I'm getting at is, Martinez will likely look good early, but as the fight goes on, that boxing computer brain that Chocolatito has will start to put it together in his brain and pick out the patterns and figure it out and start to pick apart Martinez as the fight goes on. So I like Chocolatito in this fight. I think he's going to figure it out. God bless. Peace.